Hello and welcome to my presentation on the job element method of job analysis. Today we are going to be discussing what a job element method of job analysis is, when to use the job element method, how to conduct a job element method of job analysis, as well as I'm going to provide an example of when you would use a job element method of analysis. Also, I will discuss issues and concerns and some of the advantages and disadvantages of the job element method. So what is the job element method of analysis? Well, the job element method of job analysis was developed by Ernest Primoff in the 1950s and is focused on work behaviors and the results of this behavior rather than more abstract characteristics. The job element method must be created because of the focus on specific work behaviors in relation to a job. It is used to determine the behavior of workers, to identify superior workers in a particular job, and to identify workers' eligibility for the job. The job element method is very useful in developing work sample tests for selection. For example, it can be used as a screen-out tool if there are particular items that are necessary for the job, such as being able to stand for extended periods of time. This method is closely related to work-oriented methods of job analysis, but it is worker-oriented. So when would you use the job element method of analysis? Well, the job element method of analysis should be used when the goal is for the organization to determine the work behaviors of those workers that have been identified as superior workers so that they can match what applicants must be able to do to fill the job that is being offered. Another area that the job element method of analysis provides valuable information for is in identifying training areas in which the organization can train people on skills that superior workers have that are necessary for the job. Next, we're going to go through how to perform the job element method of analysis. So, in order to conduct a job element method of analysis, first you have to identify subject matter experts for the jobs, such as supervisors and incumbents for the job. Once you've identified the subject matter experts or SMEs for the position, then you're going to bring them together and you're going to conduct a brainstorming session to identify job elements and sub-elements based on the knowledge, skills, and abilities of superior workers for that position. Once the elements and sub-elements have been identified, then each gets rated based on a specific criteria. The criteria are barely acceptable, superior, trouble likely if not considered, and practical. Once each element and sub-element has been rated based on this specific criteria, then the analyst will take the responses and prepare them for a second session in which the incumbents and supervisors or SMEs will derive scale values from the expert ratings. The derived scale value is TV for total value, which refers to the value of the element in differentiating ability of applicants for a job. IT, which is item index, which refers to the extent to which sub-elements are important in the content of a test. And then also you've got TR, which is training value, which refers to the value of the element in training. Once you have this information, then you can apply the job element method results to the actual position. So identifying the different areas in which the person who's applying for the job needs to have these certain attributes. An example of when I would use the job element method of analysis is when you have an applicant for a line worker in a factory. And the reason this would be helpful is because A line worker in a factory is based on a specific worker-oriented position. So by conducting a job element method of analysis on this specific worker-oriented position, the organization knows that if the applicant cannot perform repetitive motions or is not willing to work overtime, then they will probably not be a good fit for the position. In this way, because of the job element method of analysis, the right person for the work can be hired. Some of the issues and concerns that have been identified with the job element method of analysis are there's no solid evidence to show that the complex rating formulas are always necessary, and if there's a heavy reliance on the SME's input, it can lead to screening tools that can cause legal issues for the organization. Some of the advantages of the job element method of analysis is that it uses worker habits as elements. This can include items such as willingness to take on extra work or willingness to ensure the job is done perfect the first time. This is an advantage because it gives the organization the knowledge that the person that they hired has these positive attributes. Some of the disadvantages for the job element method of analysis is that the focus on work behavior avoids mental states such as analytical reasoning or perceptual speed, which can have a negative impact on the production for the applicant in the work. But because it is avoided with the job element method of analysis, the person may be hired anyway, and then it's found out later that they aren't a good fit for the position because they can't maintain the production, or they have issues with staying over. So in conclusion, I've provided you with information on the job element method of analysis to include what it is, when it is used, and how to conduct a job element method of analysis. I've also provided some issues as well as advantages and disadvantages of the job element method. So the job element method of job analysis is a worker-oriented method used to identify characteristics of superior workers in order to develop selection tests for new applicants. This completes my presentation.